Hey everybody, Ben Armstrong from The Boot. Doing something a little bit different today. We often get asked about what we do, and people are really excited about our organization and the unique things we're doing for Louisiana and with service members. And so I wanted to provide y'all with some access today. Recently, our staff went on a trip to Europe. Two of our staff, Jeff and Bubba, to participate in 4 recruitment events for military folks serving in Germany and in the United Kingdom. And this is kind of a conversation with them about that. I think often with our partners, I talk to people and they love what we do and they want more access. And so this is some content we're going to start creating to let you know about how we do the work of the boot, what opportunities are available for you to engage and get supportive, go from being supportive to involved with this population, and also to tell you some fun, great Louisiana connection stories that are happening across the globe with our staff. So thank you. I hope you enjoy, and we look forward to putting more stuff out like this so you can learn more about the boot and the work that we're doing to make service members thrive in Louisiana after service. Hey guys, welcome back to America. I did a little preamble to this to kind of discuss what we're doing here today. But Jeff and Bubba, you've just returned from Europe doing a Hiring Our Heroes recruitment trip for us. And so can you just explain what you went and did for the last 10 days to start off with?
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Jeff.
So we just finished a 8-day trip, 3 bases in Germany, and capped it off with a base in the UK in England, close to Cambridge. We had a great time while we were there. I got to meet a lot of good service members looking to come home. It was all positive. Everything ran smoothly. HOH put on a great event, took care of us, had everything planned out. The only thing we have to do is just basically meet the service members and talk to them about the great
Right.
opportunities here in Louisiana. So a lot of them were unaware of these kind of organizations that are out there. So it was great to touch base with them and let them know what we have to offer.
No,
Yeah,
Jeff. So what bases did y'all go to, Bubba? Where all you went to 3 bases in Germany and 1 in Europe?
yep. So we flew into Frankfurt, and Hiring Our Heroes had a charter bus scheduled. Thank God, because Jeff and I tried for 2 days to plan this trip out, and it would have been a nightmare us alone. So the
Right.
best the best email or phone call I got was the fact that we didn't have to plan nothing. Hiring Our Heroes had it. So we flew into Frankfurt, took a charter bus over to Bavaria, a small army installation. We heard cannons and bombs going off all night long. I actually got caught at Reveille at 9 o'clock at night, and you could hear bombs going off. So it was really cool to kind of be back on a military base and have that surrounding. Next morning, we did the job fair there. It was supposed to be a small job fair, which I think that was our best results from that one. Met a lot of interesting service members. We even met some veterans that kind of were furloughed or had a pathway back home, or were looking for a pathway back home. So it was good to connect with them. They kind of got stuck in Germany and didn't really have an opportunity to come back. So speaking with them, tell them about the economic, impact Louisiana's trying to make and getting veterans back home, as well as the service members. That was good. Got back on the charter bus, loaded everything up, headed to Stuttgart next. In between each this, we'd go to dinner as kind of a group and kind of connect with the Hiring Our Heroes folks. Again, got up, did the job fair, moved to Ramstein, same thing. And they did a really good job of giving us the opportunities to go to these local restaurants and eat the local fare.
Right.
And then from there, we drove back to Frankfurt Airport, stayed in the hotel there. Next morning, got up and flew to UK, stayed the night in London. We got to have a full day in London, kind of the Paddington area to ourselves. It was really, really neat. Got to see Buckingham Palace. Me and another group, I thought I was going to hear this ceremonial, on change of the guard song, and next thing you know, they're playing Ghostbusters. So that was cool that they got a sense of humor, and so we did that. Got to see Churchill's war room. I thought it was just a museum. It's actually where he handled all operations for World War II. So any history buffs out there, you'd really appreciate that if you ever got to London to see that. And then the next morning went to Cambridge, kind of got a little old school culture of Cambridge and the pubs, the food. And then we headed to Mildenhall, which I will say not all military bases are designed the same with security. Mildenhall takes it a whole lot more serious, which was neat to see, just the different force protection and the way they do things. And then from there, we did the career fair there, and bada bing, bada boom. Went back to the London airport and flew back the next day. So it was fun. Everybody thought this was just a long vacation, but I will say Jeff and I worked our tails off. It was a lot of work. I think there was over 1,000 service members total.
That's what I was going to ask. So you probably interacted with 1,000 service members
Yeah,
over four
it
bases.
was
Yeah,
between
definitely.
950 and 980, so
Right.
almost that 1,000 mark, and it's the most that Hiring Our Heroes has ever seen in this. And we were able to lock in 40 leads out of that, which for a small state
41,
like
Bubba.
Louisiana,
41.
41.
41.
So yeah, I mean, so it's interesting, right? Because we're doing a very specific thing. We're recruiting and retaining and trying to bring people back to Louisiana, right? Either they're from here or they're not from here. We're trying to show them what opportunity they could have here. And so this is at a traditional job fair that you go to at a base, you might see up to 30 people. But one of the pitches that Hiring Our Heroes shared with us that we made the decision to invest in this trip was that a majority of these people are exiting service and they're coming back to America, right? Like it makes sense. You're serving this country in a different country, far abroad, and then you're good. You're from Arkansas, you're from Louisiana, you're from California, and when you're done with your service, you're just gonna, you got to figure out how to get back home. So what do you think your opportunity is when you're serving in another country to really get in front of employers and stuff? Do they have a lot of opportunities like this at these different bases?
I can talk on this one. I've talked to a few service members, and there's not a whole lot of career fairs, if any.
Right.
They go there. So a lot of them are exiting. We're just trying to figure it out, going on LinkedIn and other job boards and seeing what was out there. They were real surprised, like I was saying earlier, that we have this opportunity. I didn't even know this existed for them. So when I explained to them that, when signing up with us, employers have access to see your data, and they can start looking at that while you're still in country, their eyes kind of lit up like, wow, this is a great service. They didn't know anything like this existed. So I know it was all positive on my end when I explained to them, especially people that maybe weren't even considering Louisiana. When I explained to them what we had to offer, it was like, oh, okay, well, I never thought about Louisiana, but
Right.
that might be a great opportunity for me. So especially the ones that didn't really have a plan.
No, that's interesting
One
because
thing
we
that,
were doing some research and we noticed
sorry.
that the statistics say that only 2% of people that apply for jobs online actually get an interview. And imagine how worse that gets if you're 6 hours ahead and you're in Germany or you're in Europe and you can't really be in a physical interview or anything like that. So that's one of the things that kind of was driven home to me. It's like, you know, in some cases, it's an American company's responsibility for the sacrifice of these service members to try to get upstream with them. And this is a great opportunity for them to do that when in reality, a majority of these service members are just on their own attempting to find a job and probably don't really have any good opportunity to interact with employers until they're actually back in the state. So the states. But Bubba, from what was Jeff talked a little bit about that, but more in depth, what are these people looking for when they're exiting service? What is like the current themes that you were seeing in these people that are coming from another country trying to come back to America after service?
Well, I'll say Jeff and I were talking about it at one point. What my pitch always is, especially in that 5 minute little speed dating session that Hiring Our Heroes asked me to do, is what differentiates us from every other state. Every state has manufacturing. Every state has healthcare, right? I focus primarily on, for the unknowns that don't know Louisiana, our chemical plants, our refineries, and liquefied natural gas. And you give them the opportunity to kind of understand how much money they can make along the Gulf Coast. That's how I really piqued their interest as far as the way my pitch goes to them. One guy, he was 21-year retired, wanted to get an NDT, and Jeff said, hey, talk to him. And Lake Charles, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, or Louisiana as a whole is not on his radar. And I told him that we have partners on the backside that are mentors. And I kind of guided him through the fact that, look, you're 11, 12 months out. We can guide you through that stage to help you with your resume, to see what you need when you get to that next step. So sign up. And I've already kind of pushed that ball down the road, but without Jeff passing to me and me kind of explaining, the industry here and the opportunities and the fact that he can make a whole lot more than what he was telling me he could make in his state, that kind of driver kind of shifted him to going, okay, this, I'm single, have no kids. That may be a good opportunity for me to do the career that I want when I separate from the military. So one of many examples, but that's just kind of how we steer them to the actual opportunities they have in Louisiana.
No, it's interesting, and I like that little wrinkle there that I didn't think about. I mean, Bubba, we've got so Laces is our community partner network, and if you go to our website, everybody, you can go and click and click get involved, and that will allow you to sign up for Laces. But Bubba, I didn't think about this, but we've got almost 200 plus people, our company representatives signed up in our network, correct?
Right, correct.
Right. And so you two literally became ambassadors for our companies while you were over there. And that's a perfect example. Is like you've got a gentleman who's exiting service, he's interested in a certain industry. We often know that the biggest problems that service members experience is they can't translate their experience into what civilian employers are looking for. And then two is they don't really understand how to access I call it the civilian industrial complex, right? And not only were you able to share with that guy some information about the industry, we had a person in that industry in our system that you could connect them with to get some mentorship and everything like that. So that's another value that, well, how we've built our system, and then in participating in this to give people an understanding of the real uniqueness here in Louisiana and what they can access. What are kind of their general feelings of the service members that y'all experience? They're getting out in another country. They're looking for employment. What are the things they're looking for right now? Were there any kind of themes, Jeff? I can start with you, but are they looking for certain type of careers? Are they looking, are they just looking for a community that's good for their families? What were some of the themes you heard?
Well, I saw a mix of things. I saw service members wanting to totally change career paths. I saw service members that were looking for education benefits. And we got to talking with some. I was explaining some of the education benefits we have in Louisiana as far as the retirees. So it just really of a big mix. Some service members were interested in how can their spouses get employment. So I kind of explained to them about what we can offer for their spouses if they get employed in Louisiana. We'll do what we can to help their spouse find a job as well. So it wasn't really just one theme; it was just a huge mix of different things. And what I like to tell them is, some of them that weren't necessarily considered in Louisiana was, if you sign up with us and get in our database, and I was really pushing the candidate portal because I thought that's very important because I explained to them how you can go to a lot of these different companies you see in this room right now, and fill out applications. With us, you sign up with us, and these employers already have access to your profile. So basically, they can still be in country, and they can get possible interviews just by the employers looking at our database and wanting to reach out and interview you. So you could potentially get quite a few interviews just while being in country. So I try to push that theme a lot, to get them to sign up with us because I think that's very important. Because like you said earlier, they can fill out these applications, only 2% will get callbacks. Whereas,
Right.
Right now with us, they can get in our portal. And I try to explain to them it's like a threefold deal. Like y'all sign up with us, the candidates will sign up with us, and the employers get to look at their information. On the other hand, we'll look at their information and see how we can match it with employers that we know of. And second, they can actually, if they find maybe an employer in Louisiana and find a job, to reach out to us, and we'll do what we can to make that link, which actually helps us in the long run because it maybe potentially get us another employer that we can add to our network. So it was very interesting, and I really enjoyed this. So.
No, Jeff, I mean, first, I love that y'all keep pinging on our tools that we've developed, right? Bubba brought up Laces and how we can use Laces, and then you brought up our candidate directory. And so, for those that might not know, once you sign up for Laces and become a partner with the Boot, you have access to our candidate directory, which is a protected database of all of our candidates in real time, those that are available. It's been recently created. And we piloted it for a bit with a few, I think 30 or 40 employers, and now it's going to be given to all of our partners. The benefit of that, Jeff, and we're working on this now, is that we give you the information about the candidate, but we also give you a military career summary. So even if you don't understand what they did in the service, or as an employer or a partner, you're intimidated by kind of like, okay, I want to hire military, but I really don't understand what they did. We're using AI to produce some little 2 to 3 sentences about their time in the military based on their rank and the job they did, so you can kind of understand what the equivalence is in the civilian world. And I think, Jeff, this kind of opened my mind a little bit when you said that. I often hear from employers like, what do we do? How do we better access? How do we better support these people? And this is a fresh idea in my head. And often I just tell them, get involved, sign up for LACES. But I think you just brought up something perfect. It's like if we get these people, these 40 people signed up and in our system, and then they're putting in their application. We're using the AI to develop their military career summary. I think employers and partners need to invest the time, right? And we're not asking you to go to a base or anything, but here in Louisiana, we're giving you access to be a partner with us and identify the role that you want to play, so we can potentially introduce talent to you as our system starts to match them based on location and industry and what you share. But also, we have a candidate portal. And if you really want to get in there, we've got people that are looking for jobs in Louisiana. I think it's 200 plus now that are in our candidate directory. And you can go in there and look at them, and you can request a connection for our team. And I can tell you, Jeff, a lot of what we do here, I always think about my experience exiting the military as an E4 in North Carolina, moving to Texas at the time because of some connections I made in the Marine Corps. And I had zero connectivity. And it was almost like I was in Germany, returning to America. I hadn't been to Texas. I was going there because I served with a guy from Texas or a few guys from Texas. We were going to go to college together. And I had to get on the ground in Texas before I could have a conversation with anybody. And I couldn't imagine if I had the ability to put myself on like a billboard, which our candidate directory really is. And then people started reaching out to me beforehand to help me make a nice firm landing. So it would be special for me if I was in that experience in Germany where companies got proactive and said, look, we know what your experience is. We think you align with this. We'd like to have a conversation with you about what you're interested in. And that would be just damn special. Like it gets me a little like emotional to think about, man, that's the answer. So if companies are looking, like it's about dedicating your time and about you pushing yourself upstream. And in some cases, it's not going somewhere and sitting behind a table with a nice tablecloth. It's doing the individual work that might really be a way to impact people. But I thank you for bringing that up because it's an idea I've not had, but it's a way we can really fashion what we're doing to show people how they can take that support and get involved, right? Any thoughts on that, Bubba, about what service members are looking for before I kind of move on some other questions?
Well, we had a couple of one-offs, just as far as MOSs that were unique to certain, things I couldn't
And MOS is
understand what
the
they
job
did.
that people are doing in the military, right? That's
But when
their military
correct,
job description. But go ahead,
right,
Bubba. I'm sorry. I'm
MOS,
just trying to
right.
make sure people.
Military MOS rate, depending on what branch they're in. And when I let them know about the AI generated, conversion, they were like, "Oh my gosh, really?" I said, "Yes." So you can have the fanciest MOS or something we've never heard of, but we have an AI built-in system to be able to cross-reference, cross that to civilian lingo so that we understand, and then also the hiring company can understand what to do with you if you want that job. And so I got quite a bit of positive feedback on that. It seems like we're light years away from what anybody else is doing. And I did get positive feedback on that tool that we have built in already. So
I know we're light years ahead because just speaking with the TAPS personnel a couple of bases, when we
yeah.
explained to them what we
Well,
did, they were
Jeff,
like, "Oh my
who are
God,
the TAPS people? Who are the TAPS people? Define that real quick so people
So
understand.
TAPS is a transition assistance program, which every service member has to go through to exit service. So,
Mhm.
and these programs are talking a little bit about transitioning out, helping them build resumes, talking about how to do interviews, and other aspects of getting out of the military. So,
Right.
it's kind of everyone has to go through it to get out of the military, no matter where you're at. And the cool thing is, at every major military installation, you have to get out, and that's including overseas as well. So we built relationships with the TAPS personnel at these bases so that they can push the boot out to everyone, even though we're not in country at the time. So we're still getting candidates passively. So that's a great thing. So, but yeah, so building a relationship with TAPS was, I think, one of the biggest things that we did while we were out there.
No, I think again, I love that you're highlighting the tools that we're building for the state of Louisiana. But the focus that we're doing is we're building out a referral network, right? Like we are doing the work of sales basically, where we're connecting with regional, national, international folks that are actually exposed to service members all the time, and we're pushing information to them about our events, about opportunities here in Louisiana, about our economy and stuff like that. And so I think our it's almost 300 people strong, and we're going to add to it with the people that y'all met in Europe, a referral network that we're consistently trying to communicate with to push information and the connection here with Louisiana. So hopefully, eventually, if anybody is interested in Louisiana, these connections happen organically because of the footwork that y'all have done, the shoe leather you put together out there. And then also, if we continue this positive information campaign with these different resources at bases across the country and now across the world, we're going to be getting the Louisiana story, the Louisiana opportunity in front of folks. So I think that's an interesting segue to the Louisiana stories that y'all experienced in going to Europe. We can't go any part of the world where we don't run into another Louisiana, and y'all ran into some folks from Louisiana. So I do know that there's a story about some service members you ran into, and so talk to me a little about the ones that you met that were from Louisiana that were returning here, or their connections to this state. Bubba, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so the first one we didn't actually meet. It was through once the TAPS folks got set up. I said, Jeff, let's go talk to them before we get busy. And when we explained to them, they get tired of sales pitches from people all the time. But once you could see them light up when we actually explained to them everything that we do for service members, their families, we make the process as smooth as possible. One lady lit up and said, I had one that wanted to move to Louisiana. I wish y'all would have been here last week. She's already moving back and she wants to go to a community college and go to P-Tech. I said, oh, we work with Sowella. Well, they have a good P-Tech. She goes, oh my gosh, that's where she's going. So through that, I was able to tell her we have partnerships with some of the refineries that we have kind of working agreements with. If they're one of our service members, they will get to Sowella and they will have kind of, first rights to the positions when they get out. So through that connection, she goes, I'm emailing her back and I'm getting her to sign up. She's going to be reaching out. And then the second one, Hiring Our Heroes asked me to do what they call speed dating, where they allow different companies 5 minutes just to kind of in the morning session to give a kind of a brief on what you do, which gives us a good heads up because the service members that are there come to the career fair and understand who we are already. But I asked if anybody's from Louisiana. He raised his hand. And then after the thing, Jeff talked to him first. And I'll let Jeff go from there because it's pretty neat.
Yeah, so we were just kind of he come up to us and he says, "Yeah, I'm from Louisiana." I said, "Oh, you're the guy that raised your hand and during the when Bubba was talking." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Where are you from?" He goes, "Oh, well, I'm kind of from the Lafayette area." I said, "Oh, Lafayette. Okay, cool. That's kind of where I live." And he goes, "Well, actually, a little closer to a little town called Eunice." I said, "Eunice." And if you know anything about Eunice, Louisiana, I mean, we might have 15,000 people. It's a real small town. I actually graduated from Eunice High, and we just happened to be from the same hometown. We're out in in England, right? So that was kind of cool.
That was England. Yep.
Yeah, that was yeah. So and we had a good conversation, and he's definitely he signed up obviously, and I was really excited about the opportunity to do something. And this is another example of someone who was a mechanic, but he wants to do something different, right? So he was asking about if we have any partnerships with trades or anything like that. So we kind of briefly discussed that. He just wants to do something different than he did in the military. So that's just a good example. And I kind of explained to him some partnerships we have with some companies that offer opportunities to for trades, things of that nature. So it was a great experience to see that. That was just one of them. Another one on the very first day in Bavaria. This is actually cool. This is about relationship building, right? So one of the other booths actually sent someone to us, right? And obviously they only did that because they knew about us in the boot. And it was a guy. He was an E7. He was retiring in Bavaria, and he didn't know where his next step was. And he come talk to us, and he was actually stationed in Fort Polk at one time about 6 years ago. Really? And he was, "This is so cool." Because we didn't know where we wanted to go. And, my kids always asking me, he says, Dad, when are we going back to Fort Polk? We miss Fort Polk. And I was like, really? The kids miss Fort Polk? I said, that's interesting. I said, well, good. I said, we definitely help you set up and getting a job over there. And I told him we have an ambassador already in place in the area that knows everyone, has a real good success rate on placing people. So he was really excited about that. As he said, I'm going to go home and tell my wife about this. And he signed up as well. So, this is another success story, I think, in the making, right? So.
No, it's so unique. There's not, to be candid with our partners and everybody who's watching this, there are other states that are doing similar activities to what we're doing here in Louisiana. I think the difference is, one, we're Louisiana, right? So we do it our own way, and we do it in a very special way. And just the human connectivity piece of this and the doors that this opens for people that are interested in our state. that are really economic engines once they get back here. And those stories of these people that are coming back is showing you the level of dedication that our state is spending on service members. We're a very supportive state of the military and veterans. But because of the creation of the boot and the investment by the state government, we've really created a level of dedication to service members that's just not seen in other states. And Jeff and Bubba are both a real embodiment of that. Okay, guys, we'll close it out with a conversation. Y'all got to you got to watch the Tigers play. I believe it was in London. They didn't win, but you ran into some other Louisiana families and stuff like that. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah.
And any other feel good stories you got, and then we'll close it down and we'll let the internet digest this and give us feedback on what they think about y'all's actions across the world. But go ahead.
Yeah, so one of our, on the bus, I told half the people y'all were coming to watch LSU game with us when we get to London, and so we did. We finished our walking tour around London. Jeff and his wife came and met us, and it was a little bitty pub, bar and grill. And they set us on the side. It was the only place that we could find that had dedicated TVs to American sports. And we were sitting there, and all of a sudden this couple walks in, and I can't remember, Jeff, if they asked me or if I asked them first. And I found out, I was like, "Are y'all from Louisiana?" They said, "Yeah, we're from Mandeville." I was like, "Oh my gosh, my boss lives in Mandeville." And so we visited for a little bit, and then we had some Hiring Our Heroes folks come. Well, one of the owner's best friends was helping him run the place, had an Alabama shirt on. So that made for a unique situation. And then there was another couple. It was like an uncle and his niece that lived in London, and a whole other group. He came over, and he's in, LSU camo. He had these earrings on, just the whole what you would expect. And so it was a good time. We had the majority of the fans in that bar, cheering for LSU. Just like any place we go. I told the owner, I said, if you change this to an LSU bar, you would sell a lot more drinks than Alabama. But I don't know if they did it on purpose, but after a couple hours, I looked, and all the servers and bartenders all had Alabama shirts on. So I guess he didn't get the hint that I was telling him. You could make more money if this was an LSU bar. But all in all, it was fun. We didn't get the W, but it was neat to meet Louisiana people who reached out. And I meant to say this about that kid. He was in the National Guard, and so it didn't really register to him because we told him we helped transitioning service members. He recently just got out of the National Guard, which we help National Guard as well. So I said, "Man, you need to sign up. Jeff and Lamar will help you find something." So through that connectivity, through our, just our talk to anybody, type of personality we have in South Louisiana, I gave him my card, and I don't know if he signed up yet, but he didn't realize that we assisted the National Guard with finding employment as well. So that was really neat, and it wasn't a work conversation, but we turned it into one, to help that kid get to his next step. So it all in all was a fun
Louisiana
night.
National Guard members in a London pub.
In a London pub with the one team that could help him find employment. So it's pretty cool.
I think it's a good point to bring up, Bubba. It's like, so at the boot, we work with exiting service members, right? That's who we connect with. If someone's been out of the service for a few years, there's other organizations that can help veterans find jobs, but we're working with those that are in service and exiting, whether it be the National Guard or traditional military service. But any feel good stories from you, Jeff, or any things to share about the Louisiana connections over in Europe?
What I thought was kind of neat was obviously that kid was he was in the 141 in New Orleans, and he just got out. So yeah, so he should be signing up soon. But the other couple that Bubba was talking about, the guy that was all in the LSU gear and all that, we got to talking with him, and he has an office downtown Baton Rouge. Oh. And it was kind of funny because he's like, the boot, he goes, "Oh, wait a second. I know about you guys." You're right. So that was kind of neat that we met some random stranger in a pub in London. Right. And he's heard about the boot, right? So I didn't ask what he did for a living because he wasn't in an environment to get into that kind of depth of a conversation. But he did hear of us. He did know about the governor and everything else. So he must do something in politics. I'm not really sure, but he did hear about the boot, and we thought that was kind of interesting that we met someone in a whole nother country that's heard about our organization. So that was kind of neat.
If you remember, actually, he said he heard about the boot when Governor Landry was speaking at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and he said they must have talked about the boot for an hour. So that was from his mouth. So that was pretty cool to hear that. So,
well, I appreciate the advertising about our organizations in different places and everything. Guys, you're showing just how small world it is, and just how the Louisiana connection is kind of across the entire world. And an interesting story that I have is when I was in Iraq in I forget, early 2000s, and I don't know if you've ever been, but there's a restaurant called Spars in Des Allemands. It's a catfish restaurant on the way from New Orleans to Thibodaux, where I'm originally from. On the way from New Orleans to it's on the other side of the bayou, going or other side of the river, going towards Thibodaux and Homa, and Spars burned down, and it's backing up in operation, but it burned down. And I was standing on a flight line in Iraq, and a guy walked up to me, and we started talking, and he had a Louisiana accent, and I was like, "Man, I'm from Thibodaux," and he was like, "Yeah, well, I'm from here." He goes, "You hear the Spars burned down?" And I was like, "What?" And so I made it. I got out. I lived in North Carolina. I was going to Texas for college, and I made sure I went by Spars and got some catfish on the way home, and let them know that I was in Iraq and I was getting the news about this misfortune. So, guys, this is real special. I appreciate y'all willing to share this information. I think it's unique for us as an organization to share this kind of stuff with our partners, and to let them know what the investment the state is really creating for this state, and the level of dedication we're putting towards our service members, and making sure they understand that Louisiana is open for business. We're here to help them transition here, and there's some great opportunities to thrive after service here in Louisiana. And I think the best way to kind of close this out before I stop recording is to just really share with everybody. One of our taglines is, "We've been in your boots, so live in ours." And I think Bubba and Jeff are a real embodiment of that tagline, and the work they went and pushed themselves for 8 days over in Europe. I know it was fun for you guys to be there, but I heard the stories about the travel out in the front end and the back end, and I appreciate y'all's dedication. And I appreciate everybody watching this and, seeing what was going on. We're going to try to push out more content like this to share just about the experience of what our staff is doing and how we're creating these pathways for people to thrive in Louisiana after service. Thank you so much, and y'all have a great day.